from that, another return happened as well too. I'm not talking about the electric guitar, but shout out to Lance Stevenson. He's
Shout out
been
to
playing
Lance.
great. I heard he just got signed for the remainder of the year for the Pacers. Makes me just wonder too, like it's kind of crazy how no one's kind of picked him up. Like he played relatively well last time he was in the league. But aside from that, Kyrie Irving returned earlier last week against the Indiana Pacers. They got the W. He ended up scoring 22 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, and shot 52% from the field. Kind of like Clay as well. Obviously, he wasn't injured, but it's a little kicker. You know, Kyrie's only allowed to play road games. He's still allowed to practice at the Nets facility, but he can only play road games as well too. But once he got that, that's how it is with everyone. Once you get that first shot, that first form of contact, you're pretty much good to go. And for him to come back and shoot above what his percentage was last year was kind of crazy as well too, just for missing that much time. In my mind, I'm thinking, is the chemistry going to be off? Like, how is he going to be defensively? Is he going to take everyone out of rhythm? They seem like they actually just needed him as well too. And it's funny how you said earlier before we started recording this, see, I didn't even realize KD went for like 38 points. That's the whole premise of just having Kyrie Irving back in the mix to go along with James Harden. Now imagine when Joe Harris comes back. You can't cheat off of anybody. So what does KD do best? Score. What does KD do best? Get you one-on-one. No one can guard him. He's, in my opinion, at least of this generation from 2000 up, he's the best scorer I've seen with my own two eyes. So if you can open up the floor for Kevin Durant to operate, he's going to be efficient, and I can see a lot of nights where he does that as well too. So Kyrie's definitely going to be needed for sure. It sucks that it's just going to be away games. Hopefully he can change his mind down the line. Something changes, because I would love for him to play, every game moving forward. Maybe, he might just being around the boys, being around that culture, being around that environment day to day. He may have a stance right now, but I feel like maybe through time, maybe you get influenced by the team and be like, oh, well, this is the bigger picture. Then, I'm willing to sacrifice and play for the better good for everyone else. But what are your thoughts on, Kyrie coming back so far, man?
Well, I got two things. One, to say we thought he was going to come back. I know he was joking when he said he's going to just put up like 30 shots. I know he was joking about that, but he came back with KD and Harden. So he played in a really, really efficient game. He didn't miss a step. Like we said, the handles are already going to be there. The shot ended up being there. So like, he looks great. It's going to be fine. But I actually now have three things. What were you saying about the Knicks game he has to play?
Yeah, so because of the New York mandate, he can't play if it's a road game going to the Garden. He can't play those games. So there's a couple games that are going to be excluded. I think the Warriors have that in San Francisco as well too. I want to say that, but I know for a fact he can't. No, I think it's Toronto. He can't play in Toronto, I believe, and then he can't play any New York game. Obviously the home game, but the other New York team is the Knicks.
Okay. My other thing was, do you think he would consider getting the vaccination or the vaccine? I mean, if he sees the playoff, like who he has to play, like if you go against the Bucks, you would want Kyrie to play this time. We saw what happened last time. You can beat them. They had a chance. Like Harden was injured, KD was doing it all. You have a chance to beat them, but I would think if the 76ers were to trade somebody, like trade Ben Simmons and get somebody that's equally as nice or better, I mean, I don't really think, if I'm Kyrie Irving and I'm really like, if I'm all in for this team, I might just get the vaccine and then play, because it's too much talent to be losing a game at home. You know what I'm saying? Like a Heat game, I don't even know who else is going to be a challenge to them. But I would consider getting the vaccine if I look at the playoff picture and I say, oh, what if the first round matchup is like somehow the 76ers slide and then get a player for Ben Simmons, and now you got to play them. I don't really know if I want to play them with no Kyrie. So
yeah, they're definitely less of a threat without Kyrie. So I definitely hope that he does get the vaccine. But I was thinking he could technically play home games right now. The Nets would just get fined. But obviously you don't want it to be excessive because there's so many games left in the regular season.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to be a part-time player. If he doesn't get the vaccine, I wouldn't be surprised if the Nets just say, we're just going to go against what we stand for, and we're going to let him play every game as long as he's not COVID positive. Because I think they can only get fined up to about $5,000. I mean, the owner's a billionaire. You can either take that from Kyrie's check, or the owner can just take that hit because it's just going to make it back anyways. Like, what's 5,000 to
Big facts.
someone who got the big bucks as well too? So I can see a scenario play out like that. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, it seems like the Nets have defensive minded players, but they just lack offense, right? And they have offensive minded players, but they just lack that defense. So I still think their Achilles heel is going to be their defense. And that was the topic of discussion last year, that and just having their big three be healthy together. I think they played under 10 games together, or maybe played 7 games in the regular season. And I think against Boston, they played 5 games. That's about it. But if Kyrie's in the fold, Joe Harris is in the fold, everyone's kind of healthy, and they don't necessarily make moves, I think their ceiling is getting to the finals. But they're going to have to be all in on the offensive standpoint, because they're last year, I think they were by the numbers, they're one of the best offensive teams of all time by the numbers. So it's just going to be one of those things where it's going to go back and forth, and they're so efficient, they're just going to have to get timely stops to close out games. And if you got Harden, you got KD right there, and you got Kyrie right there. There's no other big three that I trust to close out games as well too.